Today, Vladimir Putin is marking 25 years as the president of Russia, a quarter century of shaping that country and international relations around the world.
Я решил назвать человека,
On December 31st, 1999, then President Boris Yeltsin shocked Russians in this televised address saying he was stepping down. Vladimir Putin was the prime minister at the time, and following Russia's new constitution, he became the acting president. He won an election 3 months later and served the constitutional limit of 2 terms as president. Today, he's now into his 5th term. For a closer look at the man behind this global influence, let's bring in Alexander Lanoshka, Associate Professor of International Relations at the University of Waterloo. Good morning.
Good morning to you, too.
So Vladimir Putin was a Russian intelligence officer, as we know, with the KGB. He studied law. He was the first democratically elected mayor of St. Petersburg. How was Putin viewed when he first rose to power?
He was seen as relatively pro-Western, as incredible as that sounds. He was pretty effective in going about various moves to centralize power, usually by wresting that power away from very unpopular oligarchs who had enriched themselves over the course of the 1990s. Shortly after coming to power, he was able to benefit from very high or relatively high oil and natural gas prices that enriched the government's coffers. Again, you have to bear in mind that in the 1990s, the Russian Federation struggled immensely on the economic front, and that had implications for its own military power. So with that economic boom that he presided over in the early 2000s, he was able to revive his country's fortunes, restore pride and confidence in it, as well as eventually to resuscitate that military power. So he was fairly well received and well reviewed in the 2000s.
Russia's constitution limited presidents to 2 terms. He's now into his 5th term. How has he cemented his power in Russia?
Well, even when he was going about his first mandate, he was making moves to centralize power. In 2004, there was a school siege in the North Caucasus that was very controversially handled by his own government. And thereafter, he was making all sorts of moves to further cement his power, not least by centralizing executive authorities and reducing the power of regional governors. And so he was able to rewrite the rules in favor of his own political party, United Russia, and therefore remove essentially or eliminate single member districts. And that eventually consolidated party control, even though he would allow another person to be president in 2008 through 2012, Dmitry Medvedev. He was still nevertheless seen as kingmaker. And so since 2012, when he has come back, he's been making other moves to rewrite the Constitution in order for him to go about the presidency in rather unrestrained fashion.
What was the public and what has been the public response to those moves?
It's difficult to tell, especially since 2022, with the war going on between Russia and Ukraine. We don't really have an accurate sense of the public mood. We can maybe argue that he may have still won those elections without necessarily jeopardizing the quality of them. But I would argue that he probably has had much more support than those in the West would like to concede. Certainly, we talk about the war itself and its popularity amongst members of the Russian public, it probably has been much more popular than we would like to think. But that being said, there has been an exodus of many very well-educated Russians from the country. So people have been voting with their feet if they cannot vote at the ballot box per se.
And then in terms of international relationships, how have those shifted over the years?
Well, if he had left power in 2008, I think you would be able to say that the Russian Federation has stabilized after the experience of the 1990s, that it's revived its military fortunes, or at least was on the cusp of doing so, that he has restored confidence. Now, about 16 years later, it seems like things have gone full circle, that macroeconomic instability has returned to the country, that the military has suffered debilitating losses in its war against Ukraine, that the country has been much more isolated than ever before, and there are, more importantly, no clear plans for succession, which means that if he were to pass away right now or very soon, the country could very well plunge into chaos because there would obviously be a power struggle in his wake.
Amazing, 25 years. Alexander Lenoshka, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you once again for having me.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.